The sound of the fire greets you first. A soft, steady crackle, like ancient wood remembering its warmth. In the gentle rhythm of the flames, stories begin to stir, quiet, unhurried stories that drift through centuries. Outside, the world falls away, and here in the glow of your fire, time becomes soft and fluid. It bends, folds, and opens its doors. You're not rushing anywhere tonight. You're simply listening. Through the orange shimmer of the hearth, shadows shift and form an image, the outline of marble columns, the whisper of linen curtains, and somewhere beyond, the distant hum of the ancient world. This is where we begin tonight's journey, in the heart of Rome, 2,000 years ago. It is twilight in a villa near the Palatine Hill. The air smells faintly of olive oil, figs, and cooling stone. A fountain murmurs in the courtyard, its rhythm slow and eternal. Servants move quietly, closing wooden shutters and lighting clay lamps one by one. Their flames flicker like scattered stars, softening the marble corridors into pools of golden light. Somewhere a lyre sighs a gentle tune, a few drifting notes before evening prayer. And in this calm, the villa exhales, as though the day itself is ready to sleep. In the upper chambers of the villa, a woman sits beside an open window. Her name is Livia, not an empress, not a figure of marble legend, just one among thousands who once lived quietly under the Roman sun. Her fingers glide over a piece of linen as she embroiders small vines and flowers. The thread gleams faintly in the lamplight, golden against pale fabric. She hums softly, a lullaby her mother once sang. Outside, cicadas whisper in the gardens. Somewhere in the distance, the city is still awake, merchants closing stalls, the faint laughter of taverns, the clop of hooves fading down cobblestones. But here, the world is still. Her husband, a minor senator, is away at dinner. The children sleep in adjoining rooms, and for a rare moment, there is peace. She glances toward the small altar in the corner, where a carved household god watches, its expression patient, as if it too listens to the night. A small bowl of milk rests before it, an offering for protection and quiet dreams. The fire crackles softly again, pulling the listener closer. Time slows, and through the veil of memory the night deepens. The villa's atrium, once filled with sunlight and laughter, now rests beneath a veil of twilight. The great marble basin at its center, the impluvium, gathers the final drops of a brief evening rain, each ripple shimmering beneath the glow of a single oil lamp. The air carries a cool sweetness, the scent of wet stone and faint incense. In one corner, a servant boy sweeps slowly, his bare feet silent against the tiles. He moves not with haste but with reverence, as though the act of cleaning were a kind of prayer. When he finishes, he kneels by the family's ancestral masks, faces carved from wax, each one holding the likeness of those who came before. He places a small olive branch near them, whispering a blessing his grandmother taught him. In ancient Rome, night was not feared, but respected. It was a living thing, quiet and watchful. People believed that as the sun slipped beyond the horizon, the spirits of ancestors stirred from their rest to walk briefly among the living. So every lamp lit, every door gently closed, was done in acknowledgement, a ritual of gratitude and remembrance. In the upper levels, the walls gleam softly with reflected lamplight. Small mosaics shimmer, dolphins leaping through imagined seas, vines curling around birds mid-song, gods and mortals forever frozen in dance. Their colors fade gently into the quiet of night, as though even the art grows sleepy. And through all of this, the fire crackles softly beside you, grounding you in warmth. It hums like the pulse of time itself, unbroken, ancient, and calm. The story drifts onward, but without rush, for sleep, like history, takes its time. From the kitchen comes a gentle clatter, the last of the dishes being washed. Bronze against stone. A cook hums quietly as she slices a small loaf of honeyed bread, saving the end piece for herself. The scent of it, warm wheat and wildflower honey, drifts through the corridors like a lullaby. She places the loaf on a plate and carries it to a nearby table, setting it beside a bowl of dates and a jug of watered wine. For the household slaves, this is their quiet reward for a long day's work. No one speaks much. They sit in the cool corner of the kitchen, backs against the walls, savoring the stillness. Their hands, raw from labor, rest briefly in their laps. Outside, a nightbird calls. One of the men smiles faintly and says it means the gods are watching. The others nod, not because they believe it, but because it's a comforting thought. In the ancient world, comfort often came not from certainty, but from shared imagination. When their meal is done, they whisper small prayers to the household spirits. One thanks the goddess of the hearth for her patience. Another asks for healing for a sick child. Then one by one they drift toward the servants' quarters, leaving behind only the faint glow of the coals. The villa settles deeper into night. Shadows stretch and merge. The sound of distant footsteps fades into silence. All that remains is the hush of sleep and the steady, tender rhythm of the fire. Outside, the courtyard lies beneath a blanket of silver moonlight. The fountain that murmured all day now whispers in its sleep, each drop falling into still water with a soft, rhythmic sigh. Jasmine vines trail down the pillars, their scent delicate and cool, carried on the faint night breeze. A cat moves through the shadows, tail lifted, graceful and soundless. It pauses by the edge of the pool, laps once, and disappears again, like a spirit fulfilling a quiet duty. From the sleeping chambers beyond, a child stirs briefly, murmuring in dreams, and then the house returns to stillness. The night sky above Rome is wide and clear. Stars gleam like embers scattered by some celestial hearth, their reflections trembling in the courtyard's basin. Somewhere, a night watchman calls the hour, a sound that drifts gently through the streets, neither warning nor command, simply a reminder that time is still moving. The air carries the faint echo of faraway voices, perhaps travelers on the road, or a prayer from a nearby temple. But here, within these marble walls, all is calm. Even the gods, carved into the household shrines, seem to rest. You can almost feel the quiet rhythm of ancient life, the breath of the sleeping, the whisper of silk curtains, the pulse of the earth below. In this silence, history feels tender, not made of wars or conquest, but of moments like this one, soft, unrecorded, eternal. In a quiet chamber overlooking the courtyard, a single clay lamp burns low. Its flame bends and flickers, forming shapes that dance along the plastered wall. First a bird, then a wave, then nothing at all. The woman, Livia, lies half asleep beside it. Her hair spills like dark water over the linen pillow. The faint orange glow paints her face with warmth, and for a moment she appears timeless, one with every dreamer who has ever drifted between waking and sleep. Beside her bed sits a scroll, unrolled part way, a few lines of poetry visible in the lamplight. It speaks of spring, of renewal, of a shepherd watching the stars. She doesn't need to read it. The words already hum softly in her memory. They mix with the sounds of the night, the slow drip of the fountain, the sigh of a closing door, the hush of her own breathing. Roman poets often wrote of sleep as a sacred passage, a mirror to death, but without its sorrow. They believed dreams were gifts from beyond, messages sent by gods or ancestors through the veil of silence. And as Livia's breath deepens, as her hand relaxes upon the linen, perhaps one such dream comes to her. In her vision, she walks again through the villa, but it glows brighter. Each stone alive, each lamp shimmering like gold. The air hums with voices soft and kind. The ancestors she honored earlier stand nearby, not frightening but luminous, welcoming. They say nothing, only nod, as if to remind her she is part of something endless. The fire before you cracks again, gently. It feels as if its warmth has reached through time, connecting your world to hers. A single thread of peace woven across 2,000 years of night. Beyond the villa's garden walls, the city of Rome sleeps, though never entirely. Under the moon, the streets shimmer with a faint silver dust, stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Here and there, the glow of torches flickers from open doorways, where taverns close late and laughter trails into darkness. The smell of bread, cooling in the bakeries, lingers in the narrow alleys, sweet and faint. A cart creaks as it passes, a lone delivery before dawn. The driver hums to himself, his song blending with the rhythm of the wheels. Stray dogs nose through discarded olive pits and scraps of fish, tails wagging at ghosts of kindness. Above it all, the great temples stand quiet, their columns gleaming pale as bone beneath the stars. At the heart of the forum, the statues, emperors, poets, gods, cast long shadows across empty marble, their faces, carved in pride and wisdom, now softened by night. The moonlight rests upon them like forgiveness. Even the monuments of power seem to exhale and sleep. In one corner, a priest of Vesta tends a sacred flame, small and steady. He leans close, feeding it a twist of cedar bark, whispering a prayer older than memory itself. For Romans believed, and perhaps rightly, that as long as the flame of Vesta burned, Rome would endure. And so, though the world outside might crumble or rise again, within this still moment, the city feels eternal. The fire beside you flickers in sympathy, as if echoing that sacred light. Two flames, two times, connected across centuries by the simple act of keeping warmth alive. Not far from the forum, the empty market lies silent. By day, it is filled with shouting, laughter, and the scent of fruit and fish. But now, under the cool touch of midnight, it becomes another world. The stalls are abandoned, wooden tables draped in canvas, baskets overturned, a few wilted flowers clinging to their stems. Stray cats move among them like phantoms. The air smells faintly of rosemary, olive oil, and dust. Above the archway hangs a small bronze bell. It sways in the night breeze, but makes no sound. Its silence feels ancient, like the pause between heartbeats. This is the hour when the market's ghosts awaken, not to haunt, but to remember. The echo of barter, the laughter of vendors, the chatter of children chasing one another, all seem to hum faintly in the air. History, after all, never truly disappears. It only softens like embers beneath ash. If you listen closely, you might imagine them. A woman arranging figs with practiced grace. A man selling garlands of laurel leaves for triumphs. A young boy balancing a tray of clay lamps, still warm from the kiln. Their voices drift like perfume through time, not demanding to be remembered, only wishing to be heard once more in the quiet of the night. The fire beside you crackles softly again, a comforting answer, reminding you that warmth, sound, and light have always been our way of keeping the dark gentle. Beyond the market, the Tiber drifts under the moon like liquid glass. Its current moves slowly, brushing against the stone embankments, whispering secrets only the water remembers. Tiny ripples catch the light, fragments of starlight that dance and vanish. Fishermen's boats rest tied to their posts, rocking softly. Their nets hang over the sides like folded wings. In one, a lantern still burns, forgotten, perhaps casting a trembling path across the water's surface. On the far bank, reeds bend gently in the wind. Somewhere among them, a night heron stands, still as marble, waiting for movement. Its reflection ripples once and fades. For centuries, Tiber has been the city's breath, a giver of life, a keeper of secrets. It carried the laughter of children, the tears of widows, the blood of battles, and the prayers of lovers. Tonight it carries only quiet. The moon slips behind a cloud. For a moment all is shadow, then light returns, and softer, kinder, as though even the heavens have decided to whisper instead of shine. The fire beside you hums again, low and steady. It feels like the echo of that same eternal rhythm, the sound of water, of life moving forward, always gentle, always patient. The fire hums softly now. Its light has settled into a steady glow, casting small golden halos upon the walls. The sound of the crackling wood folds into the night air like a lullaby, and beyond it the world turns quietly toward morning. In the villa, lamps have burned low. A faint thread of smoke rises from a clay dish where oil has nearly run out. Shadows stretch long across the mosaic floors, fading with each slow heartbeat. Outside, the garden shivers under a breath of cool wind. Dew gathers on the edges of ivy leaves, and the scent of night-blooming jasmine grows fainter as the stars begin to fade. A rooster calls in the distance, hesitant, uncertain. It is the sound of something ancient stirring. Then, from somewhere beyond the olive groves, a soft murmur. The first laborers of the day, tying their sandals, readying their tools. the rhythm of work and life returning again, as it has for centuries. Inside the atrium, a servant stirs the ashes of the household hearth, gently coaxing the flame to life once more. The orange light trembles across his hands, and for a moment he looks almost holy, a guardian of warmth. In another room, the mistress of the house opens her eyes, not yet ready to rise. She lies still, listening to the world rebuilding itself from silence. The marble columns outside turn pale with the first wash of dawn. The sky glows not yet gold, but the tender color of candle wax, soft, uncertain, forgiving. As she steps onto the terrace, she draws her cloak tighter around her shoulders. Below her, the city still sleeps in patches, the domes and arches veiled in morning mist, the streets hidden under the gentle hush of fog. A single wisp of smoke rises from a chimney somewhere in the Subura. Somewhere, a baker kneads his first dough of the day. Somewhere, a child turns in his sleep. This is the hour when the world is neither night nor day, when the past feels close enough to touch, and even the air holds its breath. It is the hour Rome herself loves most, the quiet heartbeat before her thousand voices begin again. The storyteller's voice grows softer now, like the dimming of a final candle. Perhaps this is why fires were once kept alive through the night, so that dawn would never find a house cold. And as the last stars melt into the pale horizon, the flame in your room still burns gently, a thread of time connecting you to that ancient world. The crackle of the fire beside you slows. You can almost feel the warmth of that Roman hearth, the scent of smoke and olive oil, the hush of marble corridors at dawn. And with that feeling, you too may rest. The villa fades, the light softens, the story becomes breath, and all that remains is peace. The fire still murmurs softly, its warmth wrapping around the listener like a woolen shawl. But in the mind's eye, the glow shifts from the marble courtyards of Rome to the open silence of the desert. Here the sand glows under a pale crescent moon. The dunes curve gently like waves frozen in time. The night is vast but not lonely. A small caravan has stopped for rest. Their camels kneel in a circle outlined in faint light. The air smells of dry sage and wood smoke from a small campfire. Men sit close together, wrapped in thick robes, their faces lit by the golden flame. They speak softly in many tongues, Persian, Greek, Sogdian, Chinese, voices drifting like threads of smoke into the stars. One of them hums a tune played on a reed flute, a melody that might have been old, even when the pyramids were young. The others listen. They don't speak. They simply breathe in rhythm with the fire. Somewhere in the darkness, a camel sighs, a sound deep and familiar, like the earth itself exhaling. Above, the stars spill across the sky, bright and countless. There are no cities here, no marble halls, only men, beasts, and the endless wind. Yet in this silence there is peace. Each man knows that beyond these dunes lies a different world. One will see Samarkand, another the markets of Kashgar, another the mountains of Persia. But tonight they all share this same small circle of warmth beneath the heavens. And as the firelight flickers, it feels as if time itself has paused to listen. The fire burns low now, a steady pool of light in the cool desert air. One of the merchants, an older man with a silver-threaded beard, leans closer to the flame. His eyes gleam like polished amber. He begins to speak, his voice low and rhythmic, as though the desert itself is listening. He tells a story, not of wars or kings, but of scent. He speaks of the coast of Arabia, where frankincense trees cling to cliffs above the sea. Their bark, he says, is cut with care, and the sap that bleeds out turns hard and fragrant in the sun. That is what he carries now, a chest full of it, bound for Bactria and beyond. He speaks of cinnamon, thin bark rolled into curls like scrolls of scripture, and myrrh, red and resinous, used for healing and for prayer. He tells how, in distant lands, the smell of these spices marks the boundary between the sacred and the ordinary. As he speaks, the others listen with eyes half closed. The air around them fills with imagined fragrance, sharp, sweet, smoky. The crackling wood seems to join his rhythm, every spark a tiny star in their circle. When he finishes, there is silence again. the kind of silence that comes only after something beautiful. He does not look proud. He only nodded to the fire, as if the story belonged to it all along. The night deepens, the sand cools, the wind carries the scent of ashes and salt from the far-off sea, and once again the caravan sleeps. Dawn arrives not with fanfare, but as a soft, pale breath over the city of Samarkand. The air is cool, almost silver, carrying the faint perfume of wet dust and mulberry leaves. In a narrow courtyard, a woman stands before her loom. Her hands move with slow grace, drawing threads of silk through the wooden frame. The silk catches the morning light, like thin rivers of moonlight woven into fabric. Around her the city yawns awake. From distant rooftops, doves flutter into the pale sky. A merchant lifts the wooden shutters of his shop. The scent of spices mingles with the sweetness of crushed apricots. The streets fill with quiet footsteps and murmured greetings, soft as prayers. The weaver hums as she works, not a song of joy or sorrow, but of rhythm. It is the same melody her mother hummed, and her grandmother before that. Each thread she pulls becomes a note in that song. And so the tapestry grows, not with color alone, but with memory. She weaves patterns of gardens and stars, of lotus and flame, of the world as she dreams it could be. Each color has a meaning, red for strength, blue for faith, gold for the sun that watches all. Her fingers never rush, for she knows that beauty must move at the pace of patience. By mid-morning, a faint warmth touches her shoulders. Dust glows in the beam of light that falls across her loom. She smiles, quietly, as if she knows that even the smallest labor, done with care, holds a kind of holiness. And somewhere, on the far edge of the world, someone will one day hold this cloth and feel the warmth of her dawn through it. By mid-morning, the city stirs fully to life. The streets of Samarkand bloom with sound, soft laughter, the bray of donkeys, the clink of metal vessels filled with milk and honey. Dust rises gently in the air, golden in the sunlight, and the market hums like a living heart. Yet it is not chaos, not in this telling. Every motion is slow, measured, as if time itself moves more gently here. At one stall, a boy fans the embers of a small brazier. He toasts almonds with honey and sesame, the scent drifting like a promise. At another, an old man arranges painted glass bottles filled with oils of rose and musk, their colors glowing like captured dawns. A woman sells bolts of fabric, folding them with careful hands. She pauses sometimes just to smooth the silk, her fingers tracing the shimmer as if it were water. Two travelers from the west stop to admire her work. They carry coins stamped with strange emblems, a lion, a ship, a crown. The woman smiles, her eyes bright with curiosity. No one here needs words. Trade itself is its own gentle language. Somewhere nearby, a storyteller begins to speak. Children gather at his feet, drawn by the cadence of his voice. He tells of a mountain where fire meets snow, and of stars that fall into wells and become jewels. His voice rises, falls, then quiets again, always soft, like the turning of pages in a dream. Above it all, the sun warms the domes and rooftops. The call of a bird echoes between minarets, and the air hums with life, peaceful, unhurried, eternal. As the sun sinks, the market closes like a flower folding in the dark. Travelers make their way beyond the city gates toward the great Caravanserai, a stone fortress of rest at the edge of the desert. Inside, torches flicker against high walls. Camels kneel in courtyards, chewing quietly. Merchants unpack their goods, bolts of silk, bags of tea, tiny carved idols of ivory. Each traveler has a story to trade, a journey behind them and another ahead. A young boy sweeps the floor, humming softly. The air smells of lentil stew, baked bread, and smoke. Someone plucks at a stringed instrument, slow, thoughtful notes that echo through the arches. Later, as the moon rises, the sound fades, and the courtyard fills with the scent of night. Men lie beneath their blankets, gazing up at the stars framed by stone. The firelight paints their faces gold. In the hush that follows, it's easy to imagine the world breathing in unison. Persia, India, China, Byzantium, all bound together by dust, dream and distance. Somewhere a sandstorm murmurs far away, but it will not come tonight. Tonight there is only peace, and the faint eternal rhythm of hooves in memory. The next morning the caravan moves on. The desert stretches before them, endless and shimmering, not hostile but vast, patient, wise. The dunes ripple like golden waves. Shadows flow across their edges as clouds drift overhead. There is no sound but the crunch of sand beneath padded hooves, and the gentle creak of leather straps. By midday, the horizon trembles in the heat. Yet even here, life persists. A hawk circles high above. Tiny flowers bloom in hidden pockets of moisture. The wind whispers softly across the sand, shaping it into patterns that look like calligraphy. Messages from the earth to the sky. At dusk, they stop once more. No city, no market, no music, only silence. But it is a kind silence, vast and protective. The travelers light a small fire. One pours tea, another mends a strap. Another simply stares at the horizon until the stars appear. They do not speak much. They do not need to. For in this place, the world feels both infinite and intimate. And as the first stars rise, it's easy to believe that even the wind carries stories. Soft, ancient and endless. The fire beside you crackles again, and just for a moment, you might feel as though you are sitting there too, under that same desert sky. Night settles once more upon the road. The caravan halts near a cluster of acacia trees, the branches whispering softly against the starlit sky. Someone lights a lantern, not a grand thing, but a small glass globe painted with golden birds. Its flame flickers gently, casting warm ripples of light across the sand. Around it gather the travelers, merchants, scholars, guards, and wanderers. And among them, the storyteller begins to speak. His voice is rough from dust and years, but his eyes shine with life. He tells of a city beneath the sea, where pearls grow like fruit, and the queen's crown is made of starlight. He speaks of a mountain where monks capture the wind in clay jars. He tells of lovers separated by rivers of fire, and how even the stars weep for them each night. No one interrupts. The desert listens too, the dunes holding still, the air trembling with the soft rhythm of his voice. When the story ends, he lowers his gaze, and for a while no one moves. Then someone begins to hum, low, slow, almost like prayer. It spreads softly among them, until the sound becomes one, human, wind and fire joined in a single quiet song. And for that moment, they are not traders or travelers, but keepers of something sacred, the memory of all who walked this road before them. At dawn, the caravan climbs higher into the hills, where the desert begins to fade into green. The air sharpens. The scent of salt and pine begins to whisper in the breeze. A young boy, the same who swept floors in the caravanserai, walks beside the camels, holding a falcon on his arm. The bird is restless, feathers trembling against the wind. From time to time it spreads its wings, eager for the sky. The boy whispers to it in Persian, calling it Ru'ibad, spirit of the wind. The falcon tilts its head as if listening. At the summit of a rocky rise, he loosens the leather ties and raises his arm. For a moment the world holds its breath. Then the falcon takes flight, a sudden surge of motion against the pale sky. Rising, circling, vanishing into light. The boy smiles quietly, his hair stirring in the cool wind. He watches until the bird becomes no more than a speck, and then lowers his hand to his chest. Behind him, the caravan moves on. Bells chiming softly from the camels' necks, a sound like silver rain. And though the falcon is gone, its flight seems to echo in every gust. A reminder that even those who wander carry a piece of the sky with them. By midday, they reach a river, wide, slow, and gleaming like polished glass. Its surface mirrors the sky so perfectly that the boundary between heaven and earth seems to blur. The caravan halts at its banks. Some kneel to fill their flasks. Others simply watch the rippling water. Every reflection seems to shimmer with hidden meaning. Faces of travelers beside clouds, camels beside drifting reeds. It is as if the river holds two worlds, both equally real. An old monk traveling with them kneels beside the shore. He speaks softly to no one in particular. All journeys are like this river. One side birth, the other side return. The current only shows us how to cross. The words float away with the breeze. No one answers, but everyone feels something stir, a stillness inside that is neither sadness nor joy, only awareness. They cross by a shallow ford, the camels stepping carefully through the water. The ripples spread outward like silk being smoothed by invisible hands. And when they reach the far side, they do not look back. That night, they arrive at a walled oasis unlike any they have seen. Inside its gates, the air is cool, and the scent of jasmine and citrus fills the night. Hundreds of small lanterns hang from trees, glowing like captured stars. A kind old gardener greets them. He invites them to rest, to eat, to breathe. He asks for no payment, only that they speak softly and listen to the water. Within the garden, a narrow stream winds between marble stones. Goldfish drift beneath the surface, and above them, the lanterns sway gently in the wind. The travelers bathe their hands, eat figs, and lie upon the grass. One woman, the weaver, looks up at the lanterns and smiles. "They are like prayers," she murmurs, each one lit for someone who has not yet found their way home. And so they stay until midnight, the lantern light shimmering upon every face. The world outside seems to fade, only the garden remains, soft, eternal, illuminated by quiet kindness. When morning returns, the sky is pale silver once again. The travelers rise quietly, gather their things, and prepare to move on. No words are spoken. They do not need them. As they pass beyond the oasis walls, the desert greets them like an old friend. The dunes roll out before them, glowing softly in the early light. For a moment they pause to watch the horizon. Far in the east, the first rays of the sun rise, not harsh, but gentle like light through silk. It paints the sand in gold, the sky in rose, and the air itself is calm. And so they continue, step by step, toward the unseen lands beyond, each carrying a memory, a story told by lantern light, a song hummed by the weaver, a reflection from the river. The Silk Road stretches endlessly before them. But here in this breath between worlds, it feels not like a road at all, but like a dream that the earth itself is still dreaming. The desert fades behind them like a half-remembered dream. In its place rises a road of stone and mist, winding upward through cold mountain passes. The air grows thinner, the light softer, and every sound, the clink of camel bells, the crunch of hooves, echoes gently against cliffs that seem to touch the clouds. The travelers have exchanged sand for snow. Each breath turns to white vapor, curling like smoke from the earth itself. Pine forests stretch along the slopes, their branches dusted with frost. Icicles hang from rocks, glinting like glass in the muted sun. They pass through small villages clinging to the mountainsides. Near quiet places where prayer flags tremble in the wind and children chase goats along frozen paths. The people here smile rarely but bow deeply, their gestures carrying the grace of centuries. The caravan moves slower now, but there is peace in their pace. Even the animals seem subdued, their breath mingling with the clouds. The road climbs higher still, toward something unseen but deeply felt, as if the mountain itself is guiding them upward, one quiet step at a time. By evening they see it, high on a ledge of stone, half veiled in falling snow, a monastery carved from the mountain itself. Its walls are simple and pale, its roof gilded faintly with frozen sunlight. At the entrance stands a great wooden gate, carved with scenes of clouds, rivers, and birds in flight. Two monks in heavy robes open it slowly, their faces serene, their eyes reflecting the light of oil lamps. They bow to the travelers and speak softly, welcoming them not as strangers, but as fellow wanderers. Inside, the air is still and warm. 1,000 small candles burn before bronze statues and painted mandalas. The scent of cedar and butter lamps fills the hall. The floor is stone, worn smooth by countless bare feet. The monks move quietly, each step deliberate, as if walking were a form of prayer. No one raises their voice here. Even whispers feel sacred. The caravan members lower their heads in respect, and in that moment, they understand that they have reached not just a place, but a peace. Night deepens. Inside the monastery's great hall, the travelers sit among the monks. The air hums with low, resonant chanting, deep voices rising and falling like waves. Between them, bowls of oil burn steadily, their small flames trembling with each breath of air. Outside, snow falls soundlessly upon the roof. It drifts past the narrow windows, catching faint traces of light. Each flake lands, melts, and vanishes, a quiet reminder of impermanence. One monk tends to a copper bowl of incense. The smoke spirals upward in threads, curling into patterns that resemble writing, letters of air, words of silence. A traveler closes his eyes. He feels the vibration of the chant in his chest, steady and low, a rhythm older than words. The sound becomes warmth, the warmth becomes light, and for a moment everything, snow, fire, and thought, seems to breathe as one. Before dawn, the world outside the monastery is silent and still. Then from the high tower a single bell sounds, slow, deep, and pure. Its echo travels through the valley, awakening the snow, the pine trees, the sleeping birds. Inside the monastery, monks begin their morning rituals. They wash their hands with cold water, drawn from a stone basin, light new lamps, and bow 3 times before the altar. Their robes whisper softly as they move. The travelers rise too, stepping into the courtyard. Snow has covered everything, the walls, the steps, the footprints left the night before. But the sky is beginning to turn faintly blue. Somewhere beyond the mist, the first hint of sunlight touches the peaks. For a moment, the whole world seems to hold its breath. The bell rings again, and the sound feels like forgiveness. Soft, low, endless. The day begins, not with noise, but with stillness. After morning prayers, the monks gather for their meal. The travelers are invited to join. They sit upon woven mats in a long, low hall. Before them are wooden bowls filled with rice, lentils, and butter tea. No one speaks while eating, not from rule, but from peace. The only sounds are small ones. The ladle against a pot, the wind at the shutters, the faint crackle of a hidden hearth. The food is simple, but the warmth spreads through the body like sunlight. Young monk smiles shyly at one of the merchants and offers him a piece of flatbread. The merchant breaks it in half and returns a share, a gesture older than language, one heart recognizing another. After the meal, they bow their heads in thanks. The monks begin to sing, not loudly, but as if humming to the air itself. The sound is light, steady, and pure, and for those listening, it feels like the sound of peace made visible. In the gentle hush before dawn, behind the villa's marble walls, lies a small patch of earth tended by quiet hands. The servant's garden. Here life grows humbly. Onions, garlic, thyme, and a few hardy stalks of leeks, their green blades tipped with dew. A slave girl kneels in the soil, her fingers chilled from the night, but careful as she weeds. Between the roots, she hums an old tune from the countryside she barely remembers, something about rain and ripening wheat. Her song blends softly with the crackle of the unseen fire, as though the villa itself listens in silence. From a nearby roof, a dove coos gently, echoing the rhythm of her task. And for a moment, time feels still, as if the vast empire beyond these walls no longer matters. Only the earth, the dawn, and the quiet sound of breathing remain. As the sun stretches higher, light trickles into the villa's corridors. The marble floors gleam faintly, and the faint aroma of baking bread drifts from the kitchens. A young boy, perhaps a servant, perhaps a freedman's son, scurries through the atrium carrying a brass jug. Water sloshes gently with each step, echoing softly against the painted walls of faded frescoes. Flowers, nymphs, and gods half lost to time. In another corner, a matron adjusts the folds of her stola, the fabric whispering as she moves. She dips her fingers into perfumed oil, smooths it across her temples, and listens to the murmur of the fountain in the courtyard. The fire crackles faintly again, as though reminding the listener that we are still beside its warmth, still safe, still resting. The day outside will grow noisy, but within these walls, the world remains peaceful, suspended like dust in sunlight. In a small study near the edge of the villa, a man sits before a wax tablet. He is the house scribe, not noble, not for his duty is to record grain counts, deliveries, letters, and messages bound for Rome. He dips his stylus into soft wax and writes slowly, methodically. Each stroke carries a whisper of permanence, though he knows most words fade or are forgotten. He pauses now and then, gazing at the tiny window where sunlight glows against the dust motes. Perhaps he dreams of leaving these records behind his name, hidden among the ledgers of history. Or perhaps he only dreams of rest, of hearing the fire crackle, and of falling into the silence between sentences. The flame flickers in our minds again, golden and small, steady like his breath. By midday, the villa exhales. Warm light pools across tiled floors, and the rhythm of the household slows to something almost sacred. Down a shaded corridor lies the small bath, a private space where the family and their guests retreat from the sun. Steam drifts lazily from the pool, carrying the scent of herbs steeped in the water, rosemary, mint, and laurel leaves. A young woman sits by the edge, dipping her feet in slowly, her reflection trembling in the ripples. The faint trickle of water joins the memory of our fire crackling softly, both sounds melting into one another, heat and hush, comfort and calm. She closes her eyes. For a moment she could be anyone, anywhere in a world that has not yet learned of loss. Outside, cicadas sing faintly. Inside, the stillness lulls the heart toward rest. In a shaded courtyard, another rhythm continues, the soft tap of a hammer on bronze. The villa's artisan works patiently, shaping small clasps for a chest, the kind that will hold linens or writing tools. He hums a tune without words, his hands sure and steady. Around him, the smell of metal mingles with the scent of figs ripening in the sun. A boy watches from the doorway, curious. The man doesn't speak. He only hands the boy a small piece of bronze to polish, sharing the quiet craft of making. It is a moment outside of time, two lives bound by silence and small creation. Somewhere far beyond, empires clash and borders shift, but here only the whisper of metal, the warmth of sunlight, and the soft pulse of the fire remain. Later in the day, voices rise beyond the villa walls. The gentle hum of the marketplace. Vendors call softly, not shouting, their tones blending like a lullaby. A woman sells honey jars sealed with wax. Another arranges fabrics dyed in dusty crimson and indigo. A baker wipes sweat from his brow as he pulls loaves from an open oven, their scent drifting through the narrow lanes. Children chase each other between the stalls, their laughter muted by distance. A donkey passes slowly, bells chiming faintly at its collar. It is life in motion, but still, there is no rush here, no storm of time. Just the steady rhythm of existence, ancient and unchanged, like the heart's own slow beat before sleep. Evening returns like a sigh. In the olive grove behind the villa, long shadows stretch between the silver leaves. The air smells of dust and fruit, faintly sweet, faintly bitter. A farmer ties bundles of branches together while his wife gathers fallen olives in a woven basket. They do not speak. They have done this 1,000 times. Above them, the sky softens from gold to violet, and the first stars tremble awake. In the distance, smoke rises from the villa's chimney, a fire still crackling, still waiting. Soon all will return home. The lamps will be lit, the night will settle like a blanket, and as the last light fades, the world grows soft enough to sleep within. The sun has set beyond the hills. The villa breathes quietly now, its walls golden in lamplight, its courtyards veiled in the tender hush of evening. The air smells faintly of warm clay and fading blossoms, while the fountain murmurs to itself, a lullaby of falling water. Inside, slaves move softly, clearing the day's remains, folding linen, closing shutters one by one. A cat curls by the doorway half asleep. Somewhere, a lyre plucks a slow tune, a melody meant not to impress but to soothe, notes falling like drops of honey into the dark. The fire still crackles faintly, its glow low and steady, like the heartbeat of an old house. And beyond it, in the listening dark, the villa dreams of past laughter, of forgotten voices, of time itself breathing through stone. The family gathers one last time before sleep. A low wooden table is set with earthenware dishes, olives, bread, cheese, a bowl of grapes. The meal is quiet, slow, and thoughtful. The matron offers a prayer to Vesta, goddess of the hearth, thanking her for warmth, food, and safety. Outside, the night insects hum. The stars gleam through the open courtyard above. The children lean against their father's arm, drowsy from the day's heat. He tells them an old story about a traveler who followed the stars. Home, his voice slow and rhythmic, like waves on a distant shore. The firelight flickers across their faces, painting them in gold and amber tones. This moment will fade like all moments do, but its peace lingers, a softness that lives beyond time. After the meal, silence slowly fills the hall. The plates have been cleared, the lamps trimmed. Only the faint smell of smoke and bread lingers in the air. A single lamp flickers beside a column, casting a long shadow across the mosaics. Patterns of vines and birds that have watched centuries pass. The hall feels like a living thing now, resting in its own stillness. A gentle breeze stirs through the open archway, carrying the distant hoot of an owl. It feels like time itself has stopped, as if the villa has fallen into deep meditation. In the distance, you can almost hear the fire breathing quietly, its sound blending with your own heartbeat, slower now, softer now. Outside, the moon climbs over the hills, pale and unhurried. It silvers the tiled roofs and touches the tops of olive trees. The fountain in the courtyard reflects it faintly, a trembling circle of light surrounded by shadows. Every sound now is hushed, a whisper of wind, the creak of wood, the sigh of sleeping doves. The villa lies at rest, wrapped in silence like a cloak. The fire still burns low, soft orange, gentle, steady, as though keeping watch over dreams. And beneath that same moon, hundreds of other hearths glow across the empire, each telling its own quiet story. For in every age, across all time, there is a single wish shared by all who live, the wish for peace, warmth, and rest. Far beyond the villa, a network of ancient roads stretches into the night. Cobblestones still warm from the day hold the memory of countless footsteps, merchants, soldiers, travelers, pilgrims, all long gone. By moonlight, the roads gleam faintly, winding through fields of dry grass and sleeping vineyards. A single cart moves slowly, its wooden wheels murmuring over stone. The driver hums to himself, a song of home, of bread, of rest. In the stillness, the empire feels endless, yet small, connected by invisible threads of longing, of stories, of sleep. And in some distant village, another hearth flickers, its fire whispering the same quiet comfort we know now. Far to the north, beyond the borders of Rome, a small group of soldiers sit beside their campfire. The flames dance in the chill air, their light glinting off worn helmets and rough cloaks. One soldier warms his hands. Another carves a piece of wood, shaping it into the likeness of his child. They speak softly in Latin, not of war, but of the weather, of bread, of wives left behind. The fire pops gently, echoing our own, as if their warmth has reached us across centuries. Somewhere in the darkness an owl calls. The men look up, smiling faintly. They know they will rise with the dawn, march again. But for now, the night is theirs, and peace has found them. In a quiet Roman apartment not far from the Forum, a poet sits by lamplight. His table is scattered with scrolls, verses half written, dreams half remembered. Outside, the city has fallen asleep, its streets empty, its fountains still. He dips his stylus in ink and writes slowly, the words of longing, of time, of beauty that fades. He pauses often, listening to the silence, the kind of silence that speaks. A moth flutters near the lamp and he smiles, murmuring a line about fragile wings and endless skies. Some words will survive him, others will be lost, but all of them for a moment, live, and in their quiet rhythm, we feel the same pulse as the fire beside us, warm, eternal, human. By the sea, in the port of Ostia, the night smells of salt and tar. Ships rest in the harbor, their sails lowered, their ropes creaking in the soft wind. A fisherman mends his net by lantern light, humming an old sea song. Farther down the quay, a woman waits, holding a small basket of figs, perhaps for a sailor returning, perhaps for no one at all. The waves lap gently against the stones, a rhythm as steady as breath. In that sound the empire sleeps, from Rome's heart to its distant shores. And above it all, the same stars gleam that watch the villa, the soldiers and the poet. The same stars that now watch over you. And now, as the fire grows faint and the mind drifts deeper, The whole empire seems to dream. The villas, the soldiers, the poets, the merchants, all asleep beneath the same sky. The roads lie quiet, the temples glow faintly in moonlight, and the rivers flow in whispering rhythm. Even the gods perhaps rest tonight. Statues gleam softly, their marble faces gentler in the dark. History itself seems to breathe, not as a storm of conquest, but as a lullaby of lives once lived, moments once cherished. The fire in the villa flickers its last embers, and you feel the weight of time grow light, as if all centuries have folded into one peaceful, endless night. The fire has grown small now, only a handful of embers glowing like tiny hearts. Their light trembles across the villa walls, painting soft golden halos on the marble floor. The night air has deepened, cool, fragrant, and utterly still. The storyteller's voice falls lower, slower, until it feels like a breath rather than a sound. He says that all empires end and all loves turn to memory. But memory itself, that is the gentlest kingdom of all. He looks into the fire one last time and sees not flame but light. The same light that burned in poets' lamps, in soldiers' camps, in the eyes of those long gone. And so it lingers, glowing softly, eternally. Outside, the villa's garden lies in perfect quiet. The fountains have fallen silent. Their basins mirror the stars. Roses fold inward, asleep in their fragrance. The statues, once proud guardians of marble beauty, now seem softer, almost human under moonlight. A cat crosses the path, silent as a shadow, then disappears into the laurel hedge. And above, an owl glides through the air like a drifting thought, lost in the dream of night. It is here that Rome feels immortal, not in conquest, but in calm. Not in its empire, but in its stillness. And in a distant chamber, the empress sleeps. Her breath rises and falls in slow rhythm, her hands resting gently over her heart. Her dreams are not of power or palace whispers, but of simpler things. The scent of fresh figs, the sound of waves in Ostia, the laughter of her child. In the dream, she walks barefoot through a meadow beyond time, the grass cool beneath her feet, the sky endless and pale. Somewhere a bell tolls faintly, not of warning but of release. Her face softens. Her heart is light, and history for a moment forgives her. Time itself moves differently now. The hours have lost their edges. They fold like silk into one another. The stars drift slowly westward, and the air grows cool with dawn's promise. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it. The soft pulse of centuries breathing together. Rome, Byzantium, the world beyond. All of them shimmer as if seen through water, blending into one soft, eternal hum. And somewhere inside that sound, your own heartbeat joins. You have walked the empire. You have dreamed its dream. Now it releases you, gently, lovingly, back into rest. And so the fire dies, the garden stills, the empress dreams. The world becomes quiet, utterly, beautifully quiet. The wind sighs once through the olive trees and is gone. A candle flickers, then steadies. The last sound is your own breath, slow and calm. History fades into sleep and you with it. All that remains is warmth. All that remains is peace. All that remains is rest. Good night, traveler of ages. Sleep now, the empire dreams with you.